that's my name there. And with details of a debut so hot, you'd probably have to blow on it a bit if you were eating it. Here is Thursday's wrestling news. FTR make their AEW debut. Elsewhere, CM Punk has teased a wrestling return once again. And a WWE Legend wants to work with AEW's Dark Order. We'll get to that in a bit. More than 6 weeks after getting unconditional releases from WWE and years of elbows to the ribs on episodes of Being the Elite, it finally happened. Last night on AEW Dynamite, the Young Bucks go face to face with FTR, formerly known in the WWE as The Revival. So, the Young Bucks getting beaten down by the Butcher and the Blade. Here comes a pickup truck containing Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. They get in the ring, look like they're about to give Matt and Nick the shoeing of a lifetime, end up battering the Butcher and the Blade. Young Bucks extend their hand. FTR go, nah, off they go. And here we are. It's happened. FTR are in AEW. Now, we knew this was going to be a thing. We knew they were AEW bound. It was just simply a case of when. I'm really pleased that we had a substantial amount of bodies in the crowd in the form of the wrestlers for when this happened. Like, it genuinely felt like there was a great reaction there. And obviously it's because the people around the ring. If you couldn't have done this in like a soulless warehouse. You couldn't. I'm glad people were there. And big love to AEW straight off the bat. ShopAEW.com, you can buy their brand new t-shirt, which actually addresses the elephant in the room with regards to their name. So FTR was what they were going by. The plans were it was going to be, I think they wanted to keep the Revival name and then they couldn't. Then they were going to be the Revolt, and that there was kick-off between a tag team that was already called the Revolt. And they went back and forth and said, oh no, we're actually called Fear the Revolt. It's a full thing. But we now understand, at least when it comes to AEW, the FTR stands for F the rest. But I mean F as in the swear F, which works beautifully. That must have been a little light bulb moment in that pickup truck. We're going, we need to figure out what initials we can use FTR with. There we go. I like it a lot. Real nice, simple debut. I'm jazzed to see FTR and Young Bucks have that eventual match. It's now inevitable, very much like Thanos. I know what you're thinking. Oh, but I want to hear Jack talk about this, not Tom, because Jack's our AEW guy. Well, fret not, you entitled little so-and-so, because Jack's along later today doing AEW Dynamite graded. So Jack is going to talk all about this segment in much greater detail and hypothesize and give it a lovely grade as well. Jack will be on the Cultaholic YouTube channel later on, and I'm sure Ross will have something to say about it too on AEW TF Moments. That will be here on this YouTube channel later as well. A few more AEW notes for you. Cody addressed how the belt is going to be showcased on AEW, and Cody has said that he's going to be putting the belt on the line every week in an open challenge. Kind of makes sense. It's your TNT Championship. You should defend it every week on TNT. First title defense is next week against the winner of the Battle Royal from Dynamite, and then from there it's come one, come all. Could see some interesting challenges for Cody's belt. And AEW could be back at sea later, not later this year, because I don't know what shape we're going to end this year in, but certainly starting next year by the looks of things. Chris Jericho announced that the third installment of the Rock and Rager, the Jericho Cruise, is setting sail in February. There's going to be a load of wrestling dignitaries on there, the likes of Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Candice Michelle's going to be amongst it as well. Fozzie's going to be doing a live show, and there will be AEW matches on the cruise as well. Very likely that we will see an episode of Dynamite recorded on the Rock and Rager next year. I enjoyed the show at sea. Very different aesthetic. Let's do that again. We've pretty much been in lockdown for the majority of 2020 now, and we're at a point where we're just looking for some creature comforts that take us back to a normal time. You know, whether it's meeting up with friends, having a coffee from your favourite coffee house, rumours of CM Punk getting back into the ring. Yes, here we go. starts again. CM Punk sent out 2 tweets that has certainly kicked off the wrestling community. One being a little jibe at a match at Backlash. When announced that he was going to be on WWE Backstage next week, CM Punk shared the news by saying that it will be, quote, the greatest episode of Backstage ever. Takes bow. I see what you did there. And also, Fight put out a tweet asking people what their favourite CM Punk moment was. And CM Punk quote retweeted it with TBD, which, as we all know, stands for trousers bent diagonally. To be determined. So we could see CM Punk once again get into the habit of just winding us up. I wonder whether there's some correlation between CM Punk being on Backstage next week and winding us up about a possible return to the ring. I'm sure they're connected. New Japan's Hiroshi Tanahashi was speaking to Sports Illustrated, and he's got some really strong opinions when it comes to empty arena shows that we're seeing a lot of companies do right now. Tanahashi says, there isn't a governing body for Japanese pro wrestling. As such, we can't necessarily enforce cancellations. That's been the responsibility of each company. But to run events in the middle of a pandemic presents the wrong image of professional wrestling to society and would deal a black eye to the industry that might still remain even after the pandemic ends. I thought it was important for us to come together, understand exactly what's happening and do what's right, even if that means returning to action after other pro sports. So Tanahashi, really not a fan of empty arena shows, and this is something that quite a few companies across the world are opting to do or opting to try in some senses. And Tanahashi's actually got a really valid point. You know, like watching Raw and NXT every week like I do. Obviously, we've now got some more atmos in the rooms thanks to WWE trainees around the place. But it's been so jarring watching wrestling in empty arenas. Like, you lose an element of a wrestling match if you're putting on matches and you can't react and you can't get that crowd reaction. It's weird because people want to keep showing wrestling shows to kind of offer escapism, yet when you see an empty performance centre, you're completely reminded as to what's going on. I'm so pleased that WWE have finally followed suit for what AEW is doing and put people around the ring. I'm so pleased. It's just, I know AEW were ahead of the curve on that, and I'm glad that they're finally following through with it. I'm enjoying some of the banter around how the WWE trainees were made to stand for hours and hours on end at a wrestling show. You want to come to North Wrestling in Newcastle, it's all standing. But if you're going to stand at a North Wrestling show, stand near the bar. Thank me when you come to the next one. You will be pleased to know that in these awkward times, there is still some decadence floating around. Randy Orton, you may remember, was teasing clearing off from WWE elsewhere last year. This ended with him signing a new multi-year deal, getting a little bit of extra cash in the old back pocket, and he celebrated by buying a private plane. There he is in it now, from his Instagram page. What a guy, living the life, living his best life. Randy Orton's private plane. I mean, it says a lot about where you're at, where you can buy your own plane. I'm sure Orton's got one, Lesnar's got one, the McMahons have got one, Pachiti's got one. Well done on your plane, Randy Orton. Bobby Lashley, but not Bobby Leasley. I am the master and the ruler of the world. Not my words, the words of Auntie Belinda when she wins at Monopoly at Christmas time. And the words of Sid Vicious, WWE Legend, former champion Sid Vicious, who was chatting on his podcast, A Vicious Circle. They did a live Facebook edition, so they streamed the whole thing on the Facebook. And people were asking questions to Sid, and obviously the question comes about, well, would you go to AEW? It turns out Sid's a big fan of AEW. He heaped a lot of praise on Britt Baker in particular, as well as the product in general. He says, I enjoy it. It's a lot more fun when the fans are there, of course, but they're doing a really good job of not having fans there and moving on. And a follow-up question from that was, who would you like to wrestle against in AEW? And Sid Vicious said, probably somebody out of the Dark Order. I like those guys. And it set off the wonderful fantasy booker in my head. Like, if anybody from sort of the 80s, the 90s of wrestling is a strong fit to be tied in with the Dark Order, Psycho Sid has got to be the guy, isn't he? I don't know if I want him to face the Dark Order. I kind of want him to be in the Dark Order. Kind of wish he'd been the Exalted One. No offense, Brody Lee. Some news on Dr. Britt Baker coming up in a later Cultaholic news video today, and on AEW Graded with Jack as well. So Britt got injured, as we know, just for Double or Nothing. We'll have an update on that very soon. And check cultaholic.com for more news as well. And you know what? Perhaps watch another video. I've got some options I can see now because I've been squeezed into a smaller rectangle. Have yourself an amazing day. Stay safe. I love you. Bye.